What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to take you guys through my ultimate guide to the upcoming Double Game Week 26. So Double Game Week 26 promises to be quite a large double, quite a good double, great fixtures coming up, and that's why the ultimate guide is going to be quite an interesting one. Going to start off with giving you guys some reminders about the Champions League, and then also discussing the chip strategy of the bench boost, free hit, and triple captaincy heading into this upcoming Double Game Week. I'm then going to shift the attention to do a quick summary of goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and then finally forwards, and giving you my favorite two options as well as the highest predicted point scorers in those departments. And then finally, going on to the biggest question about Double Game Week 26, it's who to captain or triple captain if you guys are going to be using the chip. Going to be going over my favorite Liverpool options and discussing potential rotation with those three options. So that's something you guys are interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going over a quick reminder about the Champions League. Yes, tonight Liverpool are taking on Inter Milan, a very high octane clash there. Two great sides. Serie A is being led by Inter Milan, so pretty sure that Klopp is going to play strongest 11, and that's going to give us a nice indication of some potential rotation heading into Double Game Week 26. Now yes, there are European competitions like the Europa and the Conference League coming up on Thursday, but I generally think most of us are going to focus on the Champions League and Liverpool as a whole. But you guys don't necessarily have to watch the games. I will be updating you guys on what happens in the team selection tomorrow in terms of Salah, Mane, Jota, Trent's minutes, and that sort of thing. You just got to kind of hope that all these players come out injury-free. But now heading on to the first question of the ultimate guide, or the first talking point of relevance, it's going to be the bench boost versus the triple captain. Now why I haven't included the free hit here is that yesterday I did actually create a free hit draft video where I did discuss potential pros and cons of using the free hit, so you go check that video out if you guys haven't. But what I'm going to focus on now is the bench boost versus the triple captain. Now unfortunately I can't give you guys the best answer here because this is such a situational question. I'll be discussing what I would do if I was in a predicament of what chip to use. So fortunately for myself, I'm a little bit borderline, but I generally think my bench is not looking that strong for Double Game Week 26. So I'm on the bandwagon of the triple captain, and we'll discuss those options a bit later on. But what I would kind of do is go over to your own team, make the most realistic bench here. Don't kind of put Jota, Salah on the bench with Trent and then say, should I bench boost? Like those viral tweets on FPL Twitter. What I would do is make a realistic bench, and then what I would do is we've spoken about predicted points from websites like Fantasy Football Fix. Other websites also do their own tools. Some actual FPL users have their own kind of models. We spoke about that a little bit earlier on in the preseason. But what I would do is make a projection or a prediction of how many points your bench will be scoring, and I would try and be a little bit more conservative just so that you aren't overestimating them. Then a little bit later on and throughout this video, I'll be helping you guys with the projected points of the captaincy options. Now one disclaimer I want to tell you guys about is that please don't compare the bench boost and the triple captain like for like. You got to compare them from using the chip late on the season versus Double Game Week 26. So what I mean by that is just look at the triple captaincy. Most people will use it on a Liverpool option. Norwich leads at home, great triple captaincy options there, but later in the season there could be a potential Leicester triple. However, that is not confirmed yet. But there will be definitely a Double Game Week coming up. Double Game Week 36, when we plan to bench boost, is going to be an absolutely massive Double Game Week. So that's when you probably will use a triple captain if you use your bench boost this game week. But I generally think there won't be a triple captaincy option better than Double Game Week 26, and that's why I'm going for it. But as I've mentioned, if your bench boost is going to yield you more points now, I still might be tempted to use it over the triple captain. So do that prediction of your bench versus your triple captain, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys are dealing with. I also will help you guys out if you comment your bench and who you would triple captain if you were going to use the chip. So now that we've kind of spoken about what to do if you're in a little bit of a dilemma between which chip to use, we also spoke about comparing the triple captain not to the bench boost on its own, but to another option later in the season, and also the bench boost could be the same concept. But now let's talk about the actual triple captain options in terms of effective ownership. So what a lot of people have been saying is that they don't want to captain someone like a Salah, a Jota, a Trent, probably more of a Salah, just because his effective ownership is going to be so high. So therefore you won't be able to get those differential points by captaining a differential captain. But to me, I think that might be overthinking it slightly. I just think just because it's the popular option doesn't mean it's the wrong option to go for. And I mean, if you think Salah's the best option to go for, the extra set of points from the triple captain will help you in the future. Now, I know this might not be the most mathematical or a statistical answer, but I think sometimes you have to look back on FPL and take the bigger picture as a whole and make our decisions on that. But let me know in the comments down below, are you guys going to use the bench boost or the triple captain? Why are you going to use it? And as I said, if you do comment your bench, I'll try and help you out slightly. But now we're going to go on to the next set of talking points, which is going to revolve around me giving you the top 2 predicted point scorers in terms of projected points from Fantasy Football Fix. So right off the bat here, full disclaimer, I'm not going to highlight any Liverpool options because they are OP. They need to be nerfed for this upcoming game week. Leeds at home and Norwich at home simply puts them at the top of most kind of projected points models, and therefore it's a little bit unfair. So I decided to spice it up. I've not covered the Liverpool assets and I've gone for some other teams. So the first position we're going to talk about is going to be the goalkeepers, and coming up with the first position is going to be, no surprise there, it's going to be Ramsdale from Arsenal. So 5.1 million is a relatively respectable price for such great fixtures from now to the end of the season. The only downside is that Arsenal do blank in game week 27. But Fix has the projected points for Aaron Ramsdale to be 10.3, which is basically a clean sheet in both the games. Now the nice thing about Ramsdale is that he gets bonus points for days. He doesn't even have to make too many saves to get bonus points, and that's why his projected points will always be higher than other goalkeepers. Now for my own personal team, I'm actually contemplating bringing Ramsdale in for a hit, but I do own Foster and De Gea, and I don't have enough money to upgrade Foster, unfortunately. But going on to the next highest projected point scorer, it's going to be Salah from Wolves. So slightly more expensive than Aaron Ramsdale, but if you guys do want to prepare for blank game week 30, remember that blank game week 30 is going to be a massive blank game week, and if you guys aren't planning to free it in that specific game week, then you have to prepare with some options. Now the nice thing is that Wolves have a guaranteed fixture in blank game week 30, so 5.2 million, you can get a goalkeeper that's projected to score 8.6 points and also has a blank game week 30 fixture. But personally, I still do prefer Aaron Ramsdale, at least for the short to medium term, and you can always bring in Salah if you're going to free it or wildcard after game week 26. Now going on to the defenders, and we have a similar trend here of teams. First player is going to be Tierney from Arsenal at 5.1 million, and he's predicted to score 10.0 points. So it is a little bit interesting for me here that Tierney is expected to score less points or projected to score less points than his counterpart Ramsdale, even though Tierney does get slightly more forward as a fullback. Personally, the Scottish fullback is my favorite option to get in that defensive department, especially if you're going to look at bringing in an Arsenal player. The next option though, you will see here that we have a repetition of Arsenal and Wolves, just because the fixtures are great for these two teams and defensively they are quite assured. So the next player is going to be Nelson Semedo from Wolves, 4.8 million and projected to score 7.5 points, and he is also a fullback, which you guys know I love. Now I personally don't actually enjoy the Wolves fixtures for this upcoming double, but as I said, if you're going to plan for blank game week 30, I would probably bring one of them in. Now going on to the next department, and arguably the most interesting options are going to come from the midfield department, and the first option, a little bit surprisingly, is going to be more of a budget one. It's going to be Saka from Arsenal. So you guys can see that the algorithm over at Fix absolutely loves the Arsenal fixtures and their underlying stats, and for 6.4 million you can get 8.3 projected points from the Arsenal midfielder. Now in terms of those Arsenal mids, those attackers, definitely my favorite option out of them. Martinelli suspended for the first game. Smith Rowe might have some rotation in the second game, and then we also have Odegaard, who hasn't been as explosive as I think we would have liked. So I think paying that extra money over the cheaper midfielders is going to be worth it with Saka, because he is nailed and he should be involved with most Arsenal attacks. But now going on to our second option, it's going to be Heung-min Son, that comes in a lot more expensive at 10.7 million, and he's predicted to score less at 7.6. So I genuinely think I agree with the algorithm here, because what it's probably saying is that against Man City, Spurs won't do much, and I agree with that. But in the second game against Burnley, I do favour Son to get an attacking return. So I guess you are banking on whatever they do get against Burnley, and then against Man City, anything is extra. And I mean, Son with his pace could always get in behind that Man City defense and maybe get an attacking return, an assist or a goal, and that'll be absolutely gold. So in terms of my midfield options, I really do like these two. In my freer draft, I had both of them, and I think if you guys want to bring one of these in, Son's probably a little bit safer just because he doesn't blank in game week 27. And now finally going on to our two projected top scorers for the forwards. You guys will see a trend here. Like the midfielders, we're going for the forwards, and they got the same teams. So the first player is going to be Lacazette from Arsenal at 8.3 million, projected to score 9.1, which is slightly more than Saka, but obviously you are paying a more premium price. The thing that I do like about Lacazette though is in that forward department, we don't have many options to get, and that's why he provides a nice little entry there if you guys want to upgrade someone like an Antonio. But I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying that maybe Lacazette's not the best option to get, and that's why I think if you guys want to go cheaper and more secured, I probably would opt for Saka. But like with the defense, we had goalkeepers and defenders from Wolves and then also Arsenal. We now have midfielders and forwards from Arsenal and Spurs. So nice little North London derby in the attacking department. And that's going to be Harry Kane up next at 12.2 million, projected to score 7.5. Now, unfortunately, the thing with Harry Kane is that because he hasn't had the best stats and actually the most goal output this Premier League season, I do think the algorithm is downing him a little bit. And I do think against Burnley historically, he has actually played quite well. But like Heung-min Son against Man City, I'm not expecting too much. So I do think if you guys want to bring in a Spurs option, I would opt for Heung-min Son just because gets the extra point per goal and the point per the clean sheet. So I think his ceiling might be slightly higher than Kane, and I generally just trust the South Korean more. But if you guys want to downgrade a Ronaldo or Honor Friat, I would recommend going for Kane as a little bit of a punt because after game week 26, the Spurs fixtures still look quite good. So that's going to wrap up this next talking point about the positional players and the top 2 projected top scorers in game week 26. As I mentioned, no Liverpool options, but I'm sure we're going to get into them in the next talking point. Comment down below what players you guys are favoring from a goalkeeper, defense, midfield and forward department and why you think they're going to be the absolute goal scorers. But finally, going back to kind of how we always do these ultimate guides, I'm going to wrap up this video with the captaincy debate, and I want to say that most of us will probably be captaining the Liverpool assets. Now, I know there might be those of you out there, the absolute mavericks, that are captaining a Heung-min Son or maybe an Arsenal asset, but I do think the Liverpool assets are where it's at, and definitely those percentages of captaincies is going to be there. So in terms of Liverpool, my 3 favorite options are going to be Salah, Jota, and then Trent. I've actually placed them in order there of captaincy. I think Salah is definitely the best option, Jota up next, and then Trent third. Now this might cause some debate, but I generally think these 3 are actually quite close together. And even in terms of the projected points, you guys will see that they're quite close. But let me just touch on why I am favoring the attack versus the defense. So up next in game week 26, Liverpool face Norwich at home and then Leeds at home. And I do think there could be a chance of them losing the clean sheet, especially in that second game. So that's why I've actually placed Trent in third because of that threat to the clean sheet. And I do think there's going to be quite a few goals conceded for Norwich and Leeds. Now, I do think in terms of the debate about rotation, I do think Trent is the most nailed out of these 3. Jota and Salah could always be rotated. I still do think they'll play. If they are benched, I do think they'll come on at the latter stages of that game, which you might even argue for a Jota is better because off the bench he's an absolute powerhouse. So with Trent, Neco Williams loaned out to Fulham, his main competition, Joe Gomez could always play there, but I generally think Trent will play every single game from now to the end of the season. So I do understand why people are going for Trent. With your captain, you want to maximize the amount of minutes they're going to play, but I do think Salah and Jota should get the majority of minutes, even though they do face in the Carabao Cup final Chelsea 4 days after that Leeds fixture. So now that we've kind of spoken about rotation and attack versus defense, I'm going to talk about the projected points from Fantasy Football Fix. So as you guys can see on screen here, they are favoring Mo Salah with the massive 19.7 points. Absolutely massive haul there, but your guys' models might be slightly more conservative. So I would say this Mo Salah score, I would rate him more as a 15 projected points, and I would compare my bench boost to whatever you think they're going to score versus Mo Salah's 15 to 20. Interestingly enough, Jota's predicted to score less points than Trent with 12.2, and Trent coming in with just below that 15-pointer benchmark at 14.9. So if you guys are going to be looking at projected points, Salah's your man to go for, but if you guys are going to look at defense versus attack or maybe some rotation, Trent could also be a great option to look at. For my own personal team, I definitely am on the Salah bandwagon. I don't have any doubts about it. I think it might be overthinking it if you guys aren't, but I can understand why you would go for Jota and Trent. I just think there's not many times we get Mo Salah as a triple captaincy option, and Norwich at home and Leeds at home is simply too hard to ignore for my own team. But now finally going over this Liverpool rotation, I wanted to put this on paper here and show you guys the options in the certain positions. So first things first, Liverpool always play with the 3 up front, a left wing, a right wing, and then a centre forward or a striker. Now the centre forward could also be almost like a false 9 if a Firmino is playing, but with Jota up front he usually plays as the out and out striker. Now there have been cases where Liverpool play an inverted commas 4 up front with Firmino dropping in as a cam, but I don't expect them to play that with how many options they now have in the midfield department. So let's start off with the left wing position. So in my personal opinion, I think that Mane is the first choice there, and I think he'll play the majority of minutes on that left wing position, but you also have seen Jota drift out there as in game week 25, and he has played as a left wing. Now Luis Diaz has come in the transfer window, but I do think he faces almost second or third in choice if Jota's not playing in the centre forward position. So really strong options in that left wing, and that's why I might be slightly hindered by Mane in terms of captaincy. But Jota, the nice thing about him is that he can play that left wing, so if he does get benched in that forward position, the left wing could be an option that he plays. But now let's go on to the center forward or the striker. So Jota, in my opinion, is the first choice. Great form at the moment. I think he is better than Firmino in terms of those fixtures. Now Firmino does offer things like pressing and all that good stuff, but I just think that Jota's undroppable in terms of the strongest 11 from Liverpool. So obviously Firmino's second choice there, but we also have seen Mane/Salah sometimes play there, especially last season. But that's why kind of Mane and Salah are in a slightly lower text, just because I haven't really seen them this season play too much in that forward position, and I have seen them stick to the left or right wing. So now let's go on to the right wing position where we have Mo Salah, and then I think Ox and Minamino are his replacements. So when Mane and Salah were offered AFCON, Ox and Minamino shared that right wing slot, and I generally haven't seen Mane, although he sometimes has played in the right wing position historically. For Liverpool, he's not really favoured there. Jota and Firmino also don't play that right wing slot, and what I'm trying to show you here, guys, is that just look at the quality and the quality difference from left wing striker to right wing. The options dip off, no disrespect to Ox and Minamino. Now, the one thing I wanted to say though is that there was one game that Jota actually started at the right wing position, and that was when Salah came back from AFCON against Leicester. Now, I've not actually seen Jota start at that right wing slot, and that's why it was a little bit of a surprise for me, but it does show you in Klopp's mind that he might actually play Jota there, and if you guys do recall, Jota got 2 goals in that fixture. So that does worry me slightly, but I think that was a little bit of a makeshift forward department that Klopp decided to go for. He wanted to start Diaz, Firmino and Jota, and he wanted to play them all at the same time since Mane and Salah just came back from AFCON. So yes, there might be some rotation there in terms of Salah, but I generally think that Ox and Minamino are more of a set replacement, and I think Jota will stick to the left wing or the centre forward slot. So what I'm trying to say here is that I'm not really buying into the Salah rotation too much, just because if all forwards are fit, I think Salah's the best right wing, and his fitness is absolutely insane, as well as his injury list. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about Salah. I do think his minutes will be managed, but I generally think he'll start most games, and that's what you want from your triple captaincy option. But as I said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Is he going to be rested, rotated, or do you actually think that Jota or Trent are better triple captaincy options? But that's basically wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for the team selection tomorrow, as well as the deadline stream coming up 1 hour before that Game Week 26 deadline. But I'm signing off. It's me, Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.